Hi, it's me again, back for part 3 here of this Archimedes 3010 Varta Corrosion from Hell repair, and yeah, it's been painful, really painful. Nearly went out the window towards the end of this video. So in the previous part there, I fixed most of the corrosion, got a substitute, let's just call it that, parallel port on the back there, and yeah, we're picking up just, reassembling it all, but then coming back to the parallel port, and there are some issues, as you'll see. Right, so we are getting there. Yeah, the battery is holding the real-time clock settings and stuff, and the RAM settings there. The keyboard, let me show you actually, let's switch this on. Power LED is nice and bright. Look at the look. Yeah, it's pretty dim. It's the same with the scroll lock. It illuminates, but it's dim. And it's the same with the caps lock. It does illuminate, but it's dim. Now all these keys work. Let's switch this off and then disconnect it. Yeah, but I'm just going to do the same thing I've done on so many of these, which is to just quickly tear it to pieces. It's not going through the case there at the moment, just sat them on the top. And in order to do that, you just need to find one corner like this, and I think the clip's broken off that. Someone's been in this before on that one. Yeah, just press the clip inwards marginally as you try to separate the halves. It does take a bit of practice to do this. You've got to be sort of prizing the back at the same time as you press these, just gently. You don't need to press much. Almost there now, I think. Last ones. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, lots of clips broken off that. Someone has been inside that in the past. I mean, maybe just to clean it up, I don't know. It doesn't look too dirty in there, if I'm honest. And a few bits of dust and stuff, so yeah, look at that. Loads of fluff in there. So we'll hoover that out. Just gently wipe over this with some IPA. And if you're anything like me, you'll work on the keyboards on a per keyboard basis, and what I mean is give them the work they actually need. So you could remove every single one of the keycaps here, remove every single one of the springs and things that hold the that give the tension to the key, and wash this in the sink. But as you can see, it's pretty good. But there are some little marks, like something there. That's something, I don't know, gooey. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a mark on the plastic. Yeah, and there's just the odd bit of dust and fluff in places here, so I'm just going to focus this way with the cotton bud, just deal with anything that needs dealing with, really. Yeah, and that mark hasn't gone away there, look. It must be something in the plastic. So you know what, that's pretty good. And in terms of the brightness thing, you've seen it all before because I covered it on every Archimedes video so far, I think. Yeah, fiberglass brush here on those. Then wipe with a damp cotton bud and the dry end. Yeah, do that to each one of those. Yeah, I usually do this on a paper towel if it's really bad, but I'm just doing it on my leg, just a gentle wipe like this, just to get any bits of fluff and dust off there. It's curious how there's so many broken clips on this one, because it does work, it works perfectly. I've tested this a few different times, every key works. The only reason I came in here really was just to get a quick clean and to brighten up the LEDs, which I'll do that in a sec, I'll show you. Well, we've done half of the brightening process. Now before we get it back in there, I'm just going to wipe the exposed bits here so you can see the black carbonised sort of surface of that, just a gentle wipe like that, hardly pressing, and then with the dry end, really gently. You don't want to wear that away, but just by virtue of doing that and using the fiberglass pencil, yeah, there's one down here, just by virtue of doing that, you'll find that the LEDs will be like 100% or more bright. And then work out which way this goes. It's easy because these are up there, so yeah, you can't really get that round the wrong way. Just start on one side and clip together. Yeah, one clip at a time, like that. There isn't a clip there, is there? Yeah, that's it. I would say 50% of the clips are missing off that. Anyway, it's in one piece, which has to make sure it works. So for now, I'll just sit it in the right position there. connect up these blooming things again. I wish they'd fitted a zero insertion force type socket or something there, you know, with a HUD or something. That would be a lot better. Anyway, let's switch it on now, see what they're like. Yeah, the interesting thing is, that's brighter. Hang on. Oh no, the power light. I'm confused now. Is that not the power light? I thought that was the power light. Ah, look. That's because of that clip. So we're going to need to do something there to hold that on. But nevertheless, look how much brighter this is. Ignore the fact that's flashing. Look how much brighter that is. Yeah, the reason this is going off and on here, we need just some mechanical support like that. Yeah, it's not held on this corner. Which is interesting because before I took it to pieces it was alright. That's twice as bright as well now. I'm not sure I tested the scroll, look. Yeah, there we go, twice as bright. But I do need to do something here just to hold this up like this, and obviously test that every key works. Yep, and every single key works there. It is just the power LED. So the missing clip here, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to get a cable tie and feed a cable tie through the hole here where one of the posts I think is missing. There. And see if we can pull like that. Because it has got a clip missing, there's not much you can do other than try and, I don't know, force some sort of replacement clip into position or 3D print a whole new piece of plastic maybe. But if we cable tie that there we go, that's going to be fine. Trust me, that will work. That will do the job. And that's all it's doing, it's just holding it there. So we've got that secured there, yeah, it's just pulling the two together. Because it's obviously been Muppet damaged previously, I'm going to do this side anyway. Even though the keys are totally reliable, there's no issues at all. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. We've got a missing clip there where someone's broke it, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing. Anyway, that's the keyboard dealt with. I'm quite comfortable with the keyboard. Yeah, so the final thing I need to do now, I've just been testing out the ports and things at the back. I'll show you that next, but yeah, just making sure that everything still works, and it does. Let's just try and separate the shield here if we can. There we go. The next thing is just to finish cleaning up the board. Just got a speaker. Need to stick the battery down and get some screws to, you know, position this properly in there so that it's held in position. I've got a brand new IDC cable here for the drive because the other one was really crusty in the connections there. I wouldn't like to connect that drive up with that old cable. You can see, yeah, these ports are recessed a bit, but I've just tested these out. They work fine. You can plug a joystick in, and there's our gender changer there for the parallel port. So it's all right. You know, it's not perfect. I did not intend to make the mistake there, but there's no way I want to risk undoing all my good work with the fixes there, knowing that everything is solid in terms of connectivity. So I'll go with two brand new hex nuts for that. Hopefully the thread's going to be the same, and the answer is yes, it is. And those little black screws, they've held these port shields perfectly. And that's the thing, you know, had I sourced some deeper ones that, you know, stick further out like the original ones, then we wouldn't have needed to do that. It says mini gender change. Is that really changing the gender? Or is that flipping all the pins around as well? So one of the final things as part of cleaning up here, I'm just using a screwdriver here underneath the ROMs, just to get the ROMs out. Yeah, so what I'll do here is just totally mask off the wider area because I don't want it going everywhere, and just try and spray the pins I'm dealing with here. It's kind of like IPA, that, so it kind of evaporates anyway. Look at smears everywhere here again now. This is the thing when you clean these boards, it's like it goes all smeary. But the best thing with that is just a dry cotton bud like this, just polish it, and all the smears come off. However, as I say, we'll just clean these, and you can see here, they look alright. They may be a bit dull, but there's no greeniness to them. It's literally some vapour from the battery that's just got attracted to the pins up here on this side. So I'll clean with the IPA as well. Yeah, so these are still looking a wee bit white here, having dried. So I think I'm just going to use a wee bit of deoxit and inspect them with magnification. They're perfect. The suckers are perfect. They're absolutely perfect. Hope that was the right one and not the left one. Anyway, that's one down. I'll report back. Right, so I just tested every single connection on the power port, every single connection on the serial port, every single connection on the joysticks. All connectivity is good. So yeah, that's the last look at that area of the board now. You do get, as I say, streakiness and patchiness. You can't avoid it. It doesn't matter how many times I clean this, can't get any cleaner. But I did just use the silicone tube there wedged into the vacuum nozzle and then vacuum really closely over here to get any particles, dust and hair off this whole area here. But yeah, it's pretty much ready to go back together now. So the next thing to do is stick that down, probably somewhere here, I think, maybe there. Yeah, it's as good a place as any to stick it, I think. I don't think it's going to interfere with anything. Yeah, well, we'll just get some contact cleaner into these things here. I did get some deoxit into the headphone socket earlier. I tested that. That works fine. It was a bit noisy until I deoxited it and rotated the connector. So a few bits of rust removed from the shield here. There's just like a few little specks. The floppy drive button pressed it even further down. You know, it sits quite low there. Tested that with a case, that's okay. You can see there's some marks that are not coming off here, but we'll try and clean the top of that a bit further in a minute. And I need to flip it over and yeah, get the screws in there. Yeah, so connect the speaker up. I did just straighten up the connections of that because someone's yanked that previously in the past and bent it at an angle slightly, so now it's straight. And this is where you may need to try and get the floppy drive button to go in first, because yeah, otherwise it's near impossible. So many things to try and align here. Trying to align the bits of metal, slide it into position. Yeah, it doesn't kind of feel right. It's like the button's maybe it is pressing down a bit like that. I might just need to just try and press that button. Oh, there we go, marginally down. Yeah, it's slid up. So that's the sort of thing that can cause you a huge problem. That's it, I think. Yeah. These are things worth getting right before you screw everything back in and commit to getting the lid on. And that's it. And just looking down here, the metal is overlapped properly, but this side's out. This is the thing, so I've got to pull this back out just on the side here now. I'm just trying to slide it, the middle piece under. That's it. And I'm going to go with good old C64 screws again. I bought some of these, feature so many times on so many videos, these C64 screws. They just happen, it's like one size fits all. These fit everything. That's it. I'm not going to over tighten them because I'll just break the plastic. So it just needs the two screws that go under the transformer now. Before I get the actual lid on though, I will test the IDE module here. I'll take the one out of my 3010. Press that on. I will just wipe the top of that in a minute again. So this cable is marginally larger than the original one. We'll just bend it slightly like that just so it's just there. We can get to the battery easily there as well, and the power connector, which obviously you've got to get the right way up as well, otherwise you'll end up feeding 12 volts into the logic on there instead of 5. And I did just take it back to pieces again to get the second earth connection on there. It goes into the spade contact on the power supply section here, and then there's another nut and another washer, so you've got two nuts and washers, you know, each one holding a different spade, one for the cable coming in that holds it to that, and then the other one that joins from that and that to the board. So the IDE module out of my 3010, command line up now. I think you can do it here, can't you, somewhere? Command, is it? Yeah, there we go. I think if we type modules, I can't type properly. Yeah, ID interface, so it has detected it. That's a good sign. It's configure. Design FS drives 1. K, pointing it towards the designed IDE. Design FS. Right. Press return to get back to desktop and switch it off, switch it back on. Xavier, yeah, there we go. So it actually detected something there, didn't it? Hey, you've got an ID disc. So yeah, didn't need a power cycle. And it's working. That's fantastic. I'm so pleased. Oh, this is the best version, really. Yeah, super clean and tidy, that piece. There's a bit of rust there. It's not going to be going out with my ID module, but nevertheless I'll fit that there and then just loosely put the lid on and test this for a number of hours over the space of a week or two actually. But yeah, that's in position, I think. Right, the first power up in over 2 months. I do like to leave these a period of time with the battery to see whether it works or not, you know, because I've had a lot of corrosion on this. The next thing we'll do is try and test the parallel port, assuming this power's on. So I've connected it up with a VGA cable to my VGA display there. What I may need to do though is connect composite and then switch the video over. I honestly can't remember how the VGA is detected. So power on. Yeah, that just booted straight up. That's what I like to see. Now, I can't remember whether I set the time date. Let's just have a look. I mean, it's booted up. This is the main thing, isn't it? Set clock. Yeah, I don't think I set it, to be honest. I honestly do not think I set that, so we'll set it now. Set. Right, so we set the time and date there anyway. I'm not sure what's up to the top of the thing there. I think maybe it's the... Oh no, there we go. Yeah, I think it's just this screen. You can adjust H position and V position, can't you? I remember that in the display settings, you know, in configure here, you can do it on the, I don't know where it is now, screen. Yeah, you can adjust that, you can do vertical adjust. So you go 1, 2, so you're going down, 3. That's probably it, because you can now see the cursor at the top. So, yeah, there we go. That is working. So the next thing to do is I'm going to go and write the software we need onto a disk. This will be covered as part of another video, so yeah, I don't know what I'm doing right now, but in the other video to do the zip drive stuff, I'll have already covered this. Right, so you know what, we're gonna pioneer, we're gonna work it out in this video. I haven't done the other video. I know I was saying that in another video I'll have shown you how to do it. Nope, we're gonna work it out in this video. So yeah, look how filthy this is. It wasn't this dirty in the other video that you haven't seen that I've already started. It's just been sat around for ages, this anyway. I'm confused. Zip. So yeah, that was to go in there. And then the wire needs to be untwisted. Oh, that's a bit sticky uppy. And there's a certain kind of a mouldy sort of smell to this. You'll know what I mean if you've ever had rubbish from a house clearance. Hang on a minute. Yeah, oh, this is where we need the dongle. Yeah, this thing. Thanks to my hastiness on the port there. Anyway, it's not the end of the world. I really don't want to. I should redo it. It's a bit like that cap on Cather's A3010. I really should have just fitted another socket, but you know what? When something works and it's not really a big deal, it's like totally functional, why should I go through the stress and risk of damaging the board further when I think that might be sufficient? And, well, this is the thing, we're testing the parallel port now. If it works, I see no reason to worry. Hang on, I've got a disc in that drive, I didn't even know there was one in it. So I've got a PC format disc. This is what I don't know. Is this going to work, or am I going to have to go and have a traumatic time trying to get the zip software onto an Archimedes formatted floppy drive? That's going to be not fun. Yeah, that thing is so big and bulky you can't plug anything in next to it. Nicely sort of tucks in there, hang on, and sort of feeds through that little grommet. You know, you can sort of squeeze it in. Anyway, let's see what happens. There's no light on this, or an on button, so I don't know. Right, let's power the Archimedes on, just see what happens. Oh, I didn't like the sound of that. It's booting. I just don't know where it went. And the zip drive LED is on there. Maybe this squeal was the motor on this. And this is the thing, at the state this is in, does this even work? So yeah, I've got some discs here. I've got a zip disc there. I really should be servicing this before we attempt to do anything with it. I'm going to put a disc in advance. First time doing this one with one of these. I used to have a different drive that was a similar kind of thing. Well, it's not doing anything apart from spinning, is it? I guess the main thing is it hasn't exploded. Let's go into the floppy drive. Let's see if we can see that disc. Please see the disc. No, it's not seeing it. Right, so I formatted a PC floppy disk on the Archimedes, copied the zip, expanded. That won't work. It's got to be an actual zip. And then I've copied the zip onto the C drive here because we've got, well, not C drive, IDE disk 4. I'm using a compact flash, disk on module thing at the moment, so that we've got a hard disk. So we've got the zip file there. Yeah, and we need to set the type here to DDC. I haven't got much disk space here, so we'll delete that. DDC. That should mean that, there we go, it's got the icon there, look. So if we now double click, hey, iAmega zip. So I can now just copy iAmega zip here, I think, hang on. So that's now expanded it from the hard disk to the hard disk. Should be an iAmega zip folder. Now I've got no idea what the next step is, because, well, I've never done it before and I can't find any information about this, so it's amazing I even managed to find this zip. And it does get confusing because it's a zip drive. We've got the drivers inside a zip, which is not anything to do with the zip, the actual zip drive. So there it is, it's finished. We've got that, so let's go in there. Now it'd be nice if there was an install, but there isn't, is there? So you know what, maybe you just run one of these icons and that's it. So what's zippy zip? Let's just do zip. I'd like to hope it gives us like a file manager or something. There's no drive down there, look. No! Drive is not responding. Is it plugged in? Yes, it is. So yeah, straight away we've got a problem with the power output. So I had to tear it down again to check all of the connections. So all my work there has stood the test of 2 months of time, which proves not a lot. And as I say, I tested every single connection from the port here to these, and from here to here, and then from here to up here. And I was sure everything was right, but clearly there's some problem. It could be a bad chip size, see. Yeah, and I don't know how I didn't notice this. This is simpler than you might think, actually. It's about this. I'm going to change that port, actually. You'd think it'd be that way, but it's not. It ends up being upside down. Yeah, so therefore this pin here needs to go to that pin there. So as we rotate this like that, yeah, just bear that in mind. So we test from the top pin there, top left. So we're testing that pin there, yeah. And as I say, when it's going to be that way around, that means it needs to be this one. It's not joined. It's actually joined here somewhere, look. Yeah? So it's completely flipped around. I think I'd need another gender changer to go from male to female. I'm not going to do that. I am going to take the board out and I'm going to remove that connector. It's going to be a trauma to do because, you know, obviously we've got loads of the solder mask paint and stuff here, and it was little fine wires going through the holes. So, you know, this is going to be a massive, potentially a massive amount of rework, but I'm going to have to do this. The other reason I need to do this, and I'm going to need to do this to my 3010, you know, it's a bit of a face palm really that I've got. I think I've got the same problem there. No, well, not the same problem. It's got the proper port, but I think I've got damage on mine that needs fixing because the zip drive is not detected on there either. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to take the board out. I'm gonna take that port off and try and maybe get the original one back on, or see if I've got a female one here, and we'll just see where we end up really. Right, so I've desoldered the connections there. It's mostly free. But bear in mind, we've got the little wires coming through and they're going to be stuck onto these pins. This is where it could all just go completely wrong. So I'm going to use hot air here and attempt to free this up with hot air actually. Which is going to be easier said than done because the connectors are going to get really hot, isn't it? I'm not bothered if I damage this connector. I just want to somehow get it off. Oh, there we go. Wow, well the connector's come off and actually I didn't damage it. But what happened to all the wires there? This is the question. Oh, look, lifted up. Some of them here are lifted up. Oh, that's so annoying. Right, by some minor miracle I managed to get, hang on, is there one floating there still? No, there isn't, it's just a bit of solid mask. Paint sort of hovering here. Yeah, I managed to get them all back into their holes. That solid mask paint had not completely cured in one or two places, so it's a wee bit gooey. So anyway, inspecting here now, we've got no shorts. The wires each going into their respective holes there. Yeah. So I can now get some more UV solid mask paint on. And I'll apply some hot air and stuff, we'll set that. It's going to take me, I don't know, 20 minutes to sort this out now. Right, here we are a few days later. I did clean up the old one, but, you know, it's too manky, I think. You know, the dirt, you know, corrosion has got right into there, so even though they kind of look copperish inside, you know, and the pins here don't look too bad, it's a bit dirty on the edge of the connector. The things here got destroyed, I don't know how. Oh, did they? Yeah, they did actually. They dissolved, you know, the screw mounts, you stick your screws through there. So those are missing. It's just a bit crusty. Well, anyway, yeah, after a bit of looking on eBay, I managed to find one that's got exactly the same footprint there, look. Yeah, so the pins are in the right place here according to the depth. Because, you know, this one, if you look at this here, it sits back quite a long way. Obviously, it's the wrong gender anyway. I need to get the nuts back on that, don't I? And obviously, we removed that without, I was going to say without any damage, but where's the thing here? Oh, it's fallen out. Yeah, that's just fallen out there. So, you know what? I can reuse that at some point. It's not, you know, I didn't damage the male one there, pulling it off. And obviously, I spent quite some time, you know, securing these back down. So all the wires are all through the holes. Going to check that before I get this new one on. Yeah, so I'm a bit nervous because you've got to make sure that you heat sufficiently so that the coating melts off. But you know what, they melted off previously, so they're probably just going to go straight back on. And I'm just going to hope that nothing here is shorted anywhere, but I don't think so. Actually, most of that solder mask held in place. There are only like 4 or 5 wires that when I pulled the old connector out, they lifted it out. And I just had to just, you know, put them back on the traces through the hole and then mask them back down again. So anyway, I'll report back in a minute when we got that back on. And it went through the holes, no worries there. And I can see the wires are protruding through with many of the pins here. Some of them, you know, the wire's not very long, others it's a bit longer. So I'm going to solder a couple of diagonal opposites, I think, here. Just giving it long enough there, just to make sure, in case the wire, you know, that's through there is not exposed. Just give it a bit of extra time there, just to heat. And then just press it nice and flat. Yeah, so place your bets. Do you think the power port, and is it serial port, do you think it's going to work? I don't know. I'm thinking I may have missed some. But you know what, I did spend quite some time quadruple checking all the connections here. I think the thing that's dented my confidence was removing the port, you know, the wrong port that was on there. You know, you start to think, did it suffer any damage? Did something that was previously working become disconnected now? I don't know. Right, that should be it. So, I'm going to loosely reassemble this now and give it a try with the zip drive. Let's just see. Will it work? They're not the easiest thing to loosely reassemble these, because obviously you've got mains here, so I need the mains lead connected up. But then, you know, the shield goes over the top of this for the floppy drive and all that sort of stuff, so I think actually, as tempting as it is to loosely reassemble it, I'm going to loosely reassemble it, but, well, not quite as loose as you might think. In other words, put it here so that everything lines up with the shield. Oh, hang on a minute, I need this something. Yeah, these need to come off because it won't go into the shield. Which probably means the plate will fall off if it's anything like, well, other ones of these. The nuts here actually hold the plate on around it. But you know what, we can test it without that just for now. It's not like the pins will all be freestanding because it's a female, it's not male. You get more of a problem with the, in fact that's staying on, look, it's a better one. Right, zip drive powered up and connected up. I don't have the keyboard connected just now, I don't think we're going to need it. I mean, if it does recognise it, then obviously I'll half fit the keyboard and we'll just do a bit further testing. Right, powering it on, and we've got a mouse as well. The key here is, well, is it going to see the drive? When I tried this previously it said no drive when it came up down here. And we can zip. Come on, please see the drive. Come on, come on, come on. That's taking a while. No drive. Now, does that mean there's no disc in the drive? What does that mean? Right, I'm going to put a disc in it. Maybe you don't get a drive unless you've got a disc in the drive. I'm getting so fed up with this Archimedes, I really am. Right, the disc is going in. No, it says drive is not responding. Is it plugged in? This is the thing that's so flipping annoying here. Right, so the first problem, and I don't know whether there's going to be more than one or not, tested the obvious stuff. So the connections from these resistor arrays here, if you test from the left pin there, you'll get a short here. You'll see it'll go beep, then do the next pin, beep, 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 until you've gone all the way across those 8. Yeah, and then on the resistor array there, same thing, it'll go beep, 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 and then over here, like I think on bit 4, might be 3 actually, I can't remember now, maybe bit 4, it's not the next pin, it's like down here somewhere, it's like the second or third one on the row below, and you get beep there, and then you go to the next pin, which then continues on from here, beep, 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 beep to the end, and then it goes down here, beep, 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 yeah, that's that one, the right hand one. And then I've tested the connections from the other side to the vias up here, and all of them apart from one on here, the first pin on this, were joined okay. And then obviously from the vias up here to the pins down here, you should get 33 ohms roughly. The first pin here is giving me 50 ohms, which means this outer trace has got a bit of corrosion on it. It's giving 50 instead of 33 ohms, so we've got an issue with the first trace as well, but I don't think that's going to cause the faults. I think it's the open circuit one, which is pin 1 on that resistor array there. So anyway, I've just cleaned off the solder mask here with a bit of IPA. It just wipes off. It's terrible, that UV solder mask paint, really. You just wipe with a cotton bud, and I'll show you. After, you know, going forwards and backwards several times, it just dissolves. So it's great for securing things. It's not great at protecting from IPA. IPA just dissolves it. So I've got a little bit of flux on the wire where I fixed that trace previously. I'm now just going to try and, well, fix it. Oh yes, that was it. That one connection says no disc now instead of no drive. So let me stick a disc in. Now I do know that you can have some interesting problems trying to format a disc that maybe has been formatted on a PC. But then again, they can work on a PC. Look, iAmiga. Yeah, they can work on a PC if you format them properly. So like maybe FAT, I don't know, FAT32. That's actually worked, hasn't it? I don't know whether there's, how do you resize that? That's it. It's interesting you can go smaller, you can't go larger. So let's try copying the iAmiga software onto that. See what happens. So it's reading from the floppy. Yeah, and you can just about see the drive here. It's still reading from floppy. Oh look, it's right into the drive. It's created a folder. I can see the icon on the desktop there. I'll show you in a sec. It's copying, copying, copying. It's working. Oh, that's fantastic. I am so pleased. You know what? Maybe I will have a go at fixing the other one. But I mean, fixing this power put has been traumatic. I've never been so stressed. I actually thought the Archimedes was bad. Stephen was asking me recently, he says, you've been a bit quiet. It was one of his live streams actually. He says, you've been a bit quiet, you know, sort of characteristically quiet over the last few months. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm a bit burned out. All these corrosion repairs have actually, I think they've corroded me. That's what's happened. I'm suffering from Varta corrosion. But as you can see, it's working. It's nearly finished. It's fantastic. I am thrilled to bits. Now the good news is I've ordered another one of these zip drives. In fact, 2 more. A SCSI one without a cable, and I think it's like a power supply as well, actually. And then another one that's just like this. So you know what? I can use these in different machines now. That's the idea, to be able to transfer files between the PC, perhaps. So I think I can sell this machine shortly. And Xavier has kindly said that the proceeds for this, I can put towards the channel. So this is a massive, massive, massive lifesaver, if I'm honest. I've had that much expenditure recently, to do with the house and stuff. I've got, for example, I've got 2 trees, right? This is a crazy thing. There's a tree at the front of our house. It's on common land. No one owns that land. Yeah, the land developer that built our estate here went bust, so nobody owns it. The council don't own it, and that tree is touching the roof of the front of my house. The branches are so large, and it's going to cost me £500 to £800 to get that tree trimmed. It's not even my tree, yeah, and I can't have the tree removed. To remove a tree like that is like £2,400. I can't afford to remove that tree, and I'm not allowed to remove that tree. It's a protected tree. So it's just so annoying, and I've got one at the back the same that is on my land. That needs trimming. That's almost, coming down on the conservatory in the back end of the house. Again, that's another £500 to £800. And I'm not trying to moan about money and stuff here. This is, I'm just telling you some real life stuff that are stressing me out. My car roof is leaking. I've still got a reasonably nice car. It's very old, 2002, with a soft top roof, and I've had no end of problems with that since I moved it out of the garage here. And you may think, oh well, you've got a nice car, what are you moaning about? Well, yeah, it's not been serviced in like 6 years. Yeah, and it would be very expensive to take it to a dealer because it's an expensive car, but second hand, it wouldn't be worth very much. The bottom line is these are all first world problems. They're my problems. They're not a big deal. I'll work my way through them, but nevertheless, it's finished. And the point I was trying to make there is thank you ever so much to Xavier. The money that he's helping with this, the sale of this, it's going to go towards some of this stuff around the house. Maybe it'll contribute towards, chunk towards one of those trees that'll stop my roof collapsing as it's pressing onto the roof with the branches. Anyway, thrilled to bits, absolutely thrilled to bits. That is fantastic. Let's just eject it. It's amazing how reliable these things are. This drive, I don't know how old these zip drives are. It must be 20 years old now. And the media's 20 years old. So we'll just wait to see if it's... There you go, hi Amiga. It's really quick as well, isn't it? Identifying the label there, the volume. It's just amazing. So there'll be a review of this. What can you actually do with this? Well, this is a Zip 100. So each one of these cartridges here are 100 megabytes. Yeah, how cool is that? Because you've got different flavours of these, like I said, there's got a SCSI one coming. I should be able to connect that to maybe the Atari Falcon, the Amiga. I can use it on a few different Amigas with the SCSI. So yeah, they're really nice. A really nice way of transferring a large amount of data. You're not limited to a floppy drive of 720k, 880k, 1.44 meg. You can actually have 100 meg on one of these. They're really nice. They do larger ones as well. You can get like a 250 meg one and stuff like that, but I think some of those may not be as compatible with this older stuff. The Zip 100 here, you can connect this to an Amiga. You need a parallel port adapter, so I'll have to build one of those, and you'll see that in the video for this, along with a bit more about the Archimedes side here as well. Last blast of hot air. So I fixed the 2 traces, one going straight from the resistor pack to the trace, and then the one that I told you was like 40 ohms instead of 1 ohm. It was the outer one, and I've scratched the trace there, put a wire all the way down and soldered it on the bottom, so it's actually on the trace. It looks really blobby here because obviously I put the solder mask right over the top of everything. Yeah, so I've got 2 wires that are fixed there now, and there are going to be no reliability issues with this. I'll guarantee that. Right, that'll do I think. Just for good measure we'll just go over here again. But I'm confident that all that is set pretty well. So yeah, does it look a bit of an eyesore here? Well, yes it does. It looks like a small war has taken place. But it's like I say, I'm confident that. Yes, the serial port hardly had anything done to it. It's just like 2 wires or something on there for a couple of connections and just a reflow. Everything was pretty good. These 1488s and 1489s, they get hot if there's a fault, and they're fine. They're just like stone cold. And just following on from the previous video, the bit at the end there with the black screws, the reason I use those is without screws, look, they fall off, these ports. So it's the same with all three of the smaller ports there. And the reason that's an issue, you'd think, well, just stick these through the shield, yeah, and screw them in. Yeah, but because of the metal shield on the inside, it stood off to about that distance. It was about 2 millimeters away from the thing, so it would sag like that inside, you know, when that metal shield was on the back. Yeah, the main metal shield I'm talking about, not this. But the voltages are all there, so there's no issue with that. Obviously the nuts hold that on. I said that this is better than the other one. It's not, in the sense that the plate here can fall off, so we do need the hex nuts. But yeah, these little ones that I got here, that have got like a, oh, it's a hex nut actually on the indent there, you know, you've got to tighten them up that way using a tiny little hex thing. It's the same one as the Xbox Series X or Xbox One, I think, the hex things on that, the screw. It's like a Torx, but super small. Yeah, it just, you know, obviously holds the plates on there, so it's annoying that I couldn't get the same style as this, where they sit exactly the same offset. But everything plugs in okay there, yeah. From the back, I've had joysticks in and out, tested those, they work fine in the joystick ports. The serial port, I haven't got anything to test that with, but as I say, everything was pretty good around that. I'm not concerned like I was with the parallel port, because there were so many connections wrong around here. That was more of a concern. Anyway, we can get it back together now. And obviously it's had, you know, new capacitors in this area around here as well. It's not a complete recap, but the capacitors are alright. The ones that took off, there's nothing wrong with them. Right, I collected all the hairs from around there with a piece of sticky tape. There are loads of really fine hairs stuck on that. It's the best way to get them off, because obviously it can't clean around there with IPA. That's not happening. Because the UV solder mask just dissolves instantly. There's a tiny bit of flux here around these two components just there, where I think I reflowed those earlier, so I will just carefully have a clean there. That's it. So we are all done. So I'll give you a quick look at that. Yeah, so you can see it's pretty scary with, oh yeah, UV solder mask, and we got loads of wires on that parallel port and a few wires on the serial port, but yeah, it's not too bad. In fact, it's brilliant. I'm really pleased with that. It could be so much worse. We do need to clean here after, yeah, replacing that. I'm so glad I replaced that. You know what, I think with even if that gender changer had worked, I can just see the hate now. I can see the hate in the comments. Oh, you've got enough patience to do Amigas, but not Archimedes. If that had been Amiga, you'd have had the port off and swapped it. You lazy bastard. So anyway, yeah, so I think it was a good idea to revisit that. I'm glad we had a fault, because I think if I'd not had a fault and it just worked with a gender changer, I would have regretted it. Yeah, you can see that's fallen off one. Anyway, it's now had more love than I think any Amiga, apart from Cathers 3000 maybe. Time-wise, obviously I spent a lot more time on Cathers 3000, but this was just infinitely more annoying. Trying to solder onto really fine traces was never fun. I much prefer where you've got lots of dip components on things. They're just a bit easier to fix. Well, quite a lot easier to fix, to be honest. But you can see my magic dry brush here generally will remove a lot of these streaks, but where it's faded here, there's no getting around that. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's still a bit streaky up here, but whilst I'm here I will just take opportunity to have a wee toothbrush here again. You see, what happens when you circle like that is you're more or less polishing with the brush. If you keep drying the brush, just in case any oils and IPA and stuff are on it, they come off, and you can see it doesn't look bad. It kind of looks polished, and that is more or less what we're doing here, polishing them. Right, there we go. It's about as good as it's going to get. Just hang on, there's a bit here, look. You can see here it's a bit weird. I might need a cotton bud for that. The thing is, you never end once you start trying to get rid of all these smears like this. You will never end. Right, that's about as good as that's going to get, I think. Right, so get its port cover back on there, and then I just need to carefully now try and get this into the right position. Carefully try and get them through there and into the port. That's good. I'm pleased as well because we've got this, you know, secures it on this side here. So I know we're going to be missing the ones there. It's not a big deal. I don't think anyone's going to be fussed. Who screws these things in anyway? Well, parallel port I probably would do, and VGA port I probably would do. Well, we've got the ones for the VGA port, so that's not a problem. It's easier to get this on when it's outside the case, so you know what? I'll just get these on, and then I'm just going to pull it back out again, out of the plastic bottom I mean. And this is far easier to get on, like, he says, and then struggles. What was I saying? It's far easier to get on. There we go, it is, yeah, but it's never easy to get that off when it's inside the case. And then of course you could just get some pliers. You could just get some pliers and just do a bit of that. That's it. It's nice and tight. So the ports are all alright here, and obviously we've tested VGA. Everything's good. And the best advice I can give you when you're trying to get a nut and a washer and everything back on there like that is to do it this way up. Yeah, sit on the edge of the bench. And then when you put your washer and your nut over there like that, it's just not going to fall off, is it? Right, we're all back together. The LEDs are all working here. I need to test the keyboard out again in a minute. Plug that in. It should come up saying I am eager if it recognises it down here. Hang on. No drive! No! Oh, don't tell me I've got a drive problem again. Right, so all it was the first wire I fixed. I hadn't joined it to the trace properly. It was like just sat touching, and of course with a bit of flexion it came disconnected. That's all it was. So I got some more flux on it. I removed the solder mask first with a bit of IPA, scratched away at it, cotton bud, and I could see it looked on the trace perfectly, measured connectivity, no join, just touched it and I felt it move a little bit. So just had a bit of flux, a bit more solder, and it's joined onto the trace properly. So yeah, that was my own fault for not inspecting with proper magnification. I used the phone this time to zoom up really close to see it's a really good connection to the trace. Yeah, and you can tell when it goes dry because it goes all matte and dull. So yeah, the same thing, matte and dull. Anyway, if we test now to the point where I joined it on the resistor array there, got a join. And the other one that I reinforced was the first one here, and that one is still good. There you go. Dead short. So, get it back together again for about the 4th time. If it doesn't work now, I swear it's going out the window. You know what's amazing is how many of these it's took for me to get used to the process. Let me show you. Lifting out, don't just ram it here, pull it out like that, because then the button doesn't get smashed off. And putting it back in, sit it into position like that there, so it's in the hole, and lower down the left side. It really is that simple to avoid smashing the button off here. That's like A3010 number 4 or 5 if you include the 3020. And I finally worked out a process. It's incredible how stupid I am sometimes. You could argue test it before you start screwing it all back together, but I'm convinced it's going to be alright. And if it's not, it's going out the window. It's got to be a channel first. Can't you? Smash his Archimedes by throwing it out the top floor of his house. I'll tell you what, I might even make a special trip to the loft to see if we can throw it out the loft. Hold on. Right, TV powering on again because TV shuts itself down because it likes to annoy me. And remember, we're using composite here, so it's not gonna. Hang on, it's not even gonna be on the right channel. That's the first thing. It's booting. Got my zip disk ready here. Please work. Come on, no faults. Zip. Please say no disk. Not no drive, no disk. Come on. No disk. That's better. Stick the disk in the drive. Oh yes. It's working. Fantastic. finally I can wrap this video up. I'm going to go celebrate, I think, by eating for the first time today. So we're all connected up for the final test here. I put Pac-Mania onto the zip disk earlier. One thing I would say is connect your drive up and everything whilst everything's powered off, then power the Archimedes on. If you try and plug the cable in or something like that, you know, at some point after the machine's being powered on, you can get issues. Yeah, I think that's a problem with that disc actually. Let's just try cancel. I think that disc was the issue there, because this one is the Archimedes one, which actually are formatted as DOS. Because when you come to format, you can say, do you want to format in Archimedes format or DOS? And yeah, I went with DOS. And I think it's at that point there where it stops loading and it's looking for some driver to work out, there you go, it's worked, to work out what the file format is, you know, the FAT format of the disc format. But now it's got an Archimedes disc in there. It works, look. Copied a few things to this before. Got the iAmega files, which is a bit weird, isn't it? Because you need those to access the drive. But I just copied a copy of them on there anyway. You've got Elite on there, Pac-Mania. And you can see, it's pretty quick. At read, it's really quick. Write speed, not so much on a parallel port. You don't get very much of a throughput. And that'll be covered in the review of the zip drive when we look at it across a few different platforms, you know, PC, Amiga, Archimedes. So yeah, look at that, really quick. Much quicker than floppy, almost as fast as a slow hard disk. And the reads actually are very fast, I think. So yeah, you could actually use a zip drive as some sort of, you know, a virtual hard disk. I mean, a zip drive is a hard disk, really, when you think about it. Because what you've got here, if I eject that, of course it'll cause a problem with that gain. Yeah, you've got the disk that you would typically have inside a hard disk. You can't really see it inside there, but it's just a large flat disk, just like a floppy. And then inside the zip drive here, and we should go inside this when we look at this drive actually, it's, you know, two heads like that come out and, you know, read the hard disk, because that's what it is, it's a hard disk, yeah. And there's a number of things I'm not going to talk about here. You get the click of death on these. I'll talk about that in the video for this. And I'll also talk about a channel that actually helped me in terms of the wiring there. A really good channel you should check out. But all that stuff will be wrapped up into you know, the zip drive video. So we finally got there in the end. The final cleanup parts of this, I'm going to wrap those up into another video that comprises of a look back at my Archimedes 3010, because that's got a problem with its parallel port as well. And it's a different issue, yeah, with a different solution. I spent some time obviously cleaning the case up here, you know, got rid of all any marks and dirt. It looks pretty much pristine. But you'll see the cleanup of this in the other video, you know, so it's just like focused cleaning with cotton buds. As I've shown before on these Archimedes, if you use a cotton bud, you can get right up to the edge of things without rubbing the ink off. And this coloured stuff here, you get IPA on this, it wipes straight off. Do not clean the top of this with IPA. So, you know, I tested a very inconspicuous area to start with and realised that the ink just dissolves instantly. So, you know, you've got to be, there was marks like right over all this stuff here. I don't know whether you could see that. I think you probably could do in part one maybe. Anyway, it's come out absolutely perfect. So I used 3 C64 screws from underneath there. There might be C64 ones. They're not the motherboard ones, but they're about the right length. I think the Master System screws actually, but brand new ones. So yeah, the top and bottom all held together properly. You know, 3 screws in there. Most of the marks removed off there, and then a final look round the back. I haven't been able to put a 3D printed part here. The reason being is this metal shield, because those 3D printed pieces, they've got like inserts for compact flash adapters that stick right into the machine, so it won't fit. But you know what, you know, that's covered up, isn't it? And everything is fine, it's gone together okay. So yeah, I'm really pleased. So yeah, this will be either going on eBay or, you know, maybe one of my patrons might want to buy it, I don't know. Huge thanks to Xavier, because as I say, it's going to just help out with some of these things, problems around the house and stuff like that. So I can't thank you enough. You know, it's been stressful working on this, but I'm very grateful, more grateful than you could possibly imagine. There'll be a link down below to Xavier's channel. He occasionally is doing bits of work with homebrew and stuff on the Archimedes. He's been playing with an engine he's got for scrolling sprites and things around. Shadow of the Beast, actually, using the Shadow of the Beast side of things. So maybe that'll come to fruition in the form of a game or something at some point. That would be really cool. But thanks ever so much, Xavier. You're an amazing guy. And Xavier is a French chap, by the way, lives in France. So au revoir, and thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and Patreon links down below. If you'd like to buy some merch, we've got some t-shirts and mugs and stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.